Here.
Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being part of our council meeting tonight. At the start of this council meeting, we need to approve two sets of minutes, one from January 11th and the other from January 18th. We'll take the minutes from January 11th first, if I could have a motion.
May I be recognized, please?
Yes.
I think we have just a couple slight changes. On page 1, the second paragraph, over to the right, it says, had a safe and memorial holiday season. So I wasn't sure if that was accurate or not.
I can check it.
And then on page 3, under confirmations, where I abstained from the appointment to the Planning Commission, I did state my reasons, and I'd like my reasons included, please, for the record. And that was all I saw. I would make a motion that we approve these as amended.
Second.
To approve, as amended, Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Abstain.
Okay. Then we also have another set from a special council meeting held on January the 18th.
Move to approve.
Second.
To approve, Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Abstain.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you once again for being part of our meeting tonight. I want to start off our meeting first by wishing our sincerest condolences to our mayor in the loss of her grandfather and her uncle. I know that, Mayor, you were very close to your grandfather, and he was a huge supporter of both you and your sister. Having lost my grandfather almost 2 years ago now, I can relate to the pain of saying goodbye. Your family has been and will continue to be in our prayers, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Last Monday night, Council held our final organizational meeting for 2016. No consensus was reached for a new Council President, so I will remain in that position. At the meeting, the following 2016 committee assignments were made. For the Finance Committee, Kathy Pucci, myself, and Barb Politzky will serve in that capacity. At the beginning of tonight's Finance meeting, the Finance Committee elected Kathy Pucci as the 2016 chairperson. For the Public Works Committee, Kevin Tansky, Tony DeMarco, and Mary Bellbeer. For Public Safety and Environmental Committee, as Deb Tomusko, Barb Politzky, and myself. For Legislative Update will be Tony DeMarco. For the Volunteer Fire Dependents Board will be Kevin Tansky and Tony DeMarco. The Fair Housing Representative will be Mary Bellbeer. The Sustainability Committee councilperson will be Kevin Tansky, and then I will serve this year as the School Board Liaison. All committees and council appointments are now filled for 2016. At the conclusion of our organizational meeting, we held a budget meeting to discuss the 2016 budget. I want to thank Mayor Gallagher and her staff, especially Joanne Haig, for their thorough preparation for this meeting. We were able to discuss a large portion of the budget in this meeting, and the administration answered questions thoroughly. The following day or the day following, Joanne emailed the notes regarding the various topics, and we plan on holding another highlights thus far. For the general fund, we're budgeting revenue to be approximately $16.5 million for 2016, and all revenue to be approximately $23 million. We're budgeting general fund expenditures to be approximately $15.3 million, and all spending to be approximately $22 million. The capital items, which are typically the largest items of the budget that were discussed at the meeting this year, was for some police equipment, some recreation equipment, including a new Zamboni, some updated and new security cameras, additional cameras at the recreation center, a new key fob entry system for the rec center, some pool fencing for the outdoor pool, a pool boiler, and a pool sand filter having to do with the filtration of the pool. For the senior center, a new carpet. Then for the service equipment at the service garage, new radios for the vehicles, a Mini-Max garbage truck, which is held in advance tonight. We're going to take it out of advance, hopefully, and vote on that tonight, and also a new salt truck. In addition to that, we're also budgeting $927,000 for the 2016 street program. In total, we plan to spend $2,195,000 in capital expenditures for this year. At the end of 2016, if the budget holds true, we will see an increase in the general fund of $1,225,000. As of January 1st of this year, we had $23,290,000 in cash on hand. If the budget holds true again, that will increase to $24,400,000. Now the agenda for tonight's meeting includes a liquor permit stock transfer, a council confirmation for appointments to the Recreation Board and the Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 2015-72, which is currently held in abeyance, which is authorizing the purchase of one 2017 Freightliner M2 Mini-Max one-arm garbage truck for the use by the Service Department from Cleveland Freightliner for a total of $210,103 through the State of Ohio government pricing. Ordinance 2015-77, which is also held in abeyance, establishing the full-time position of Economic Development Director within the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. Ordinance 2016-5 will be on first reading, and that is the annual appropriation ordinance for 2016. 2016-6 will be placed on first reading as well, which is amending Section 1 of Ordinance 2009-66, establishing fees for the sports sponsorship program at the John M. Coyne Recreation Center. Ordinance 2016-7, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Architectural Vision Group to provide architectural engineering services related to the development of an assessment on municipal buildings in the amount of $34,450. And I believe Ms. Pucci will give an update on what that is in her financial report here in a second. Ordinance 2016-8, authorizing the mayor to expand an agreement with Calfee, Halter, and Griswold LLP to provide legal services necessary and related to the operation of the city landfill on behalf of the City of Brooklyn, the amount not to exceed $10,000 as previously expanded by ordinances 2012-73 and 2014-39. Again, Mrs. Pucci, I'm sure, will discuss this in her financial report. At the conclusion of this council meeting, before the conclusion of this council meeting, we intend to go in executive session to discuss matters of personnel. After we could reconvene our meeting, following the executive session, we will briefly convene the Public Works Committee and then the Public Safety and Environmental Committee to elect a chairperson for each committee. No other action will be taken during those meetings. We will now proceed with our normal council meeting. At this time, we'll have the public session. If anyone in the audience has anything to say for the good and welfare of the City of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name and address, including your city, and you'll be recognized. Please remember to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. No one? Well, I think that's a first since I've been here. No one? Going once? Okay. All right. We will now then move on to committees, or to reports of committees, commissions, and boards. And tonight we'll start with Councilwoman Pucci for the Finance Committee.
Good evening. The Finance Committee met earlier this evening at 6:15. We pushed up our meeting time to accommodate the opportunity to answer some questions and get some further information on the assessment we're going to be undertaking of all of our buildings. We did address the following issues. Mr. Van Kirk already indicated that we did elect a chair, and I was elected chair for 2016. Ordinance 2016-5 is only on first reading. This is our permanent appropriations. As Mr. Van Kirk already stated, we had one budget meeting last week. We received the assumptions like Thursday or Friday, so we're trying to coordinate another budget meeting to get that wrapped up. Ordinance 16-6, which amends Section 1 of Ordinance 2009-66, which established fees for the sports sponsorship program. This is over at our rec center, and currently the range is from $200 to $250, and it's tied to a specific sport. So the change we're making is we're going to raise the upper limit, so it'd be from $200 to $500, and instead of using the word sport, we're going to use the word program. We started last year trying to increase the number of sponsorship opportunities for either businesses or individuals to bring in some additional revenue to the rec center. And that'll be on first reading this evening. Ordinance 2016-7, which authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with Architectural Vision Group to provide architectural and engineering services related to development of an assessment on our municipal buildings in the amount of $34,450. This also is something we began last year. We're going to have this firm go through all of our municipal buildings and assess the condition of all the systems and like the roofs, windows, doors, and they will provide a detailed report to us. It will take approximately 3 to 4 months, and we were able to ask some good questions of the representatives from this organization. And we will be passing this by emergency measure this evening so we can get started on it. Ordinance 2016-8 will also be passing by emergency measure this evening. This is to expand the upper limit that we are able to pay to our legal representation relating to the negotiation with the EPA and the closure of our landfill. It's Calfee, Halter, and Griswold, and we're increasing it by $10,000. And because we've already exceeded what we had previously appropriated, we're going to pass that by emergency measure this evening. That completes everything that was on our agenda as far as legislation. The mayor did give us an update. We have not been officially notified yet, but it doesn't look like we're going to be awarded the CDBG grant that we applied for last year, which was to upgrade our baseball fields, and that is disappointing. The mayor also reported that she asked Mr. Enovich to run some figures. I'm sure you've all seen in the paper that the city of Cleveland is considering putting on the ballot who have ATT UVerse. This was something we haven't been able to provide in the past. Unfortunately, we are still working with Time Warner and Wide Open West, so hopefully we'll be able to get our meetings up and running on all the cable stations. I know I hear from a lot of residents all the time who are very frustrated that they aren't able to watch the meetings. Finally, I'd like to welcome Mr. Butler, and we're very glad you're here, so welcome to Brooklyn. And I believe that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pucci. Next up is Mrs. Balbier.
Thank you. I would just like to pass along a couple compliments to our new council person. A couple weeks ago, I had attended the Democratic Party's county executive meeting, and I happened to speak with a very lovely man, the mayor of Lakewood, Mr. Summers. And when we chatted shortly, I had mentioned, well, we have Debbie Tomushko is now our council person. And I'm just passing this along, Debbie, he had only nice things to say about you. So I just thought I'd pass that along. Also, our longtime legendary council person, Mr. Greg Fry, had dinner at my establishment a couple weeks ago, and when I told him who was on our council, he was just elated. So I'm just passing on the compliments to you, Debbie. Secondly, there's a couple community affairs that were happening in our city here. Number one, we're having our Valentine's Day party at the Senior Center from 11 till 2. There's always great entertainment. The food is always good. If you're interested in it, it's nice just to chit-chat there. You can call Karen at the Senior Center at 635-4222. Also, our Chamber of Commerce is having a Taste of Brooklyn. I believe it's February 27th. And the Brooklyn High School Band, all that jazz, will be performing. And all the proceeds that are raised at this function are going to go for scholarships, 3 scholarships. They're hoping to award 3 $1,500 scholarships to Brooklyn residents and old Brooklyn residents. So there'll be all kinds of cuisine from local establishments. Tickets are $15. There will be food, wine, beer, and all kinds of raffle baskets and gift baskets. So if you get a chance to come out, it's a great thing to support. You can call the school or you can call Valerie Thompson at the Chamber of Commerce at 228-5484. I just have a little comment about one of the residents that spoke last week, came up to the podium and mentioned the issues about marijuana. I think it was the History Channel that did a couple hours of documentary on present-day marijuana growing and use in our country. It has been around almost since our country started. Our own state, in the last election, turned down a constitutional amendment allowing legal growing. Fortunately, the public soundly defeated that. But it will be back for consideration, probably as an actual statute. I hope not. I personally see no good in that. More than 20 states in the District of Columbia have legalized medicinal marijuana, and 4 states have legalized also for recreational use. That should increase in the future because of the tax money to be made. But the one statistic that has emerged is that marijuana is by far the largest cash crop in America. It is the larger cash crop more than corn and wheat combined. To me, that's simply mind-boggling. Another topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is the veterans. My dad served in World War II and was badly injured, spent 2 years in the hospital after the war. My husband is a Vietnam veteran, and almost every male member of his family, cousins and uncles, also served in the armed forces. We also tend to forget that more and more women are serving. 10% of our veterans are women. We are all now aware of post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental health conditions that are prevalent in returning soldiers from Iraq and Afghanistan. A government study published in May 2015 found that female veterans, representing 10% of the veteran population, have a suicide rate 6 times the rate of civilian women and 5 times the rate of male veterans. Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown has introduced the Females Veterans Suicide Prevention Act. This bill would expand the Department of Veterans Affairs' annual evaluations of mental health and suicide prevention programs to specifically include data regarding female veterans. Sherrod Brown states that the bill will ensure that the VA tailors mental health programs to more effectively serve female veterans. God bless all the women in our country who have the guts and the desire to serve our country in the armed forces. Hopefully, this bill will help lessen the great toll it has mentally had on our female veterans. Lastly, this is my opinion. I don't mean to be disrespectful at any point. We have had an organizational meeting to pick council president. After the prior vote, when no one was elected, Mr. Van Kirk immediately announced which members he had appointed to the various committees. This is a chore for the president, but it is my understanding that it is always done after consultation with the members, considering their input and which committee or committees each seeks to sit on. This was not done. I certainly had no input, and I don't believe other members did either. Conferring with council members is imperative, in my view, for getting the right people on the various committees. And it is certainly better for each member to want to be on that particular committee, being assigned to him or to her. To assign without consulting the other members was very rude and uncalled for. I believe, Mr. Van Kirk, you created a division amongst council people. It is the 3rd time that I've been on council, and the past 2 times, the council president did call me and ask me what assignment I would like. I am disappointed. I think of this as a business. To me, this was not good business. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Balbier. Next up is Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. Mayor Gallagher, I also want to express my condolences on the losses of your grandfather and uncle. I have been contacted again by Sustainability Director Mike Foley. He is now having Cleveland Public Power to take an in-depth look at the landfill for possible greenfield project. The reason he is having Cleveland Public Power instead of CEI is that Cleveland Public Power is more friendly to energy-efficient projects. This would be a great project for energy savings for our city. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Next up is Mrs. Plitsky.
Thank you, Mr. Van Kirk. On February 1st, 2015, longtime resident Mary Chase went to be with the Lord. My condolences to her family and many friends. She was active in many things, the Garden Club. She retired from the Cuyahoga County Library. This gentlewoman went quietly about doing many things in this community, far too many more for me to mention here. Please keep her family in your prayers. And sadly, Mayor Gallagher, I'd like to offer you my condolences for the family members that you lost also. May the Lord be your strength during this difficult time. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Politsky. Next up is Mr. DeMarco.
I have no report.
Okay, next up is Ms. Tomusko.
Yes, hi, good evening. I'd also like to send my condolences to Ms. Gallagher, and I commend her because on a day when I didn't think she would be here, she was here working at a meeting with me, so I commend her for her commitment to the city of Brooklyn and during a difficult time. Also, I'd like to welcome our new attorney, which is wonderful, so I'm really looking forward to having that influence here in Brooklyn. I just wanted to take a minute, and if you'd indulge me, since we are on at least one of the cable channels, and this is getting sent out, and I was just appointed to council and was sworn in January 21st. So some people might be wondering, particularly the people out in TV land, who is this person? I don't have a nameplate yet. I just got on a committee. I don't have anything of substance to say yet because I really haven't been on council all that long. But just briefly, I wanted to introduce myself. I am a lifelong resident of Brooklyn, as long as my career allowed me to be here. I went to Brooklyn High School, graduated from Brooklyn High School, went off and did my undergraduate studies at Kettering University, with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I did my graduate work at Harvard Business School, so I have an MBA in business from Harvard. I worked for General Motors for most of my life in manufacturing. My heart is in manufacturing. I believe that's really at the core of our economic base to this day. I also had an opportunity at GM to work overseas with Saturn Corporation and with Toyota in their joint venture. Again, very briefly, I left General Motors, took a job as an executive VP at a publicly traded company, and did that for a couple of years. And then I came back to Cleveland, came back to Brooklyn, and worked at an economic development organization as a director, and what I was doing was helping to improve and consult with manufacturing firms to help them become competitive and remain competitive, because again, that's really at the core of our economic base in particularly Northeast Ohio. In terms, and I also have taught college at a number of schools, Cleveland State, Walsh, et cetera. And I currently have my own business, and basically what I consult in is helping companies and nonprofits to improve their efficiency and their effectiveness. So I'm really looking forward to applying my skill set and my experiences to Brooklyn. I've been involved in Brooklyn from the beginning. I was inducted into the High School Hall of Fame, and now I sit on the committee so that continues to recognize outstanding Brooklyn High School graduates. I served on the Economic Development Committee because of my extensive background in economic development work and community work. I did a pro bono marketing project for the city of Brooklyn that resulted in quite a few program changes. So I've been very active, but I appreciate the opportunity now to serve. So just very briefly, because there hasn't been anything in the paper other than, hi there, Debbie Tomusko is the new council person. So I thought I'd take just a second or two to introduce myself and a little bit about my background. The other thing I wanted to just say is I look forward to when the other cable companies come on, because this is a representative democracy, and the way for this to work effectively is the people have to stay involved in what the government is doing. There's a lot of talk about openness and transparency, and the only way this stuff really works is if you guys stay involved. So I applaud the people that are here at night, particularly on a snowy night, although we know Brooklyn roads will be fine, despite the fact it's a snowy night. And everybody at home, please take active role in your government. Stay informed, and don't ever forget the fact that we are all here to work for what's best for Brooklyn. And also don't ever forget the fact that all of us and everybody in this building works for you. You are our boss. You are our owner. You pay our bills. You decide if we're going to be around or not. So I just ask you to don't ever forget that. So again, thank you. And hopefully in the future, I'm on my one committee, so once I get involved more extensively, I will be able to say more and contribute more. But that was just a brief introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Musko. And along the vein, as far as the meetings go, all of our meetings are available on the city's website. Although just one of the cable providers is up right now, if you go to the city's website, they are available on the website as well. I didn't really have a report tonight. Like I told the mayor before, I will have to talk enough through the legislations. And I do want to address something that Mrs. Balbier said. We have met several times since January 1st. We actually had 3 organizational meetings to try to come to a consensus on the council president. Obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, that did not happen. We did meet a week ago. I did appoint committees. I did seek the advice of some folks on making those appointments. No objections were raised at that time. This now been a week's time since that meeting took place. There's been no objections that have been made to me either through email or phone call on those things. I'm not being rude. I'm not creating divisions inside of the city of Brooklyn on the council. I'm not going to make any apologies for performing my duties and how I see fit in the best interest of the city of Brooklyn. I'm not here to promote myself or any other reason except to do what's been the best interest of the city of Brooklyn. And so, Mrs. Balbier, I certainly apologize if it's come across that way. That is never.
Yes, it has. I'm sorry, too.
I apologize for it coming across that way. That was never my intention. My phone line is always open if there are any concerns, and you are welcome to call me at any time to discuss such matters. That will conclude the council reports. Next up is the mayor's report. Mayor.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for the condolences. It's been a tough couple weeks, but I appreciate the support that I have received from the directors and the staff here, and as well as City Council. I would like to formally welcome Kevin Butler. He was appointed at the last meeting after the council meeting ended. And, this search for a law director had 23 applicants. We interviewed, 6 of those applicants after going through resumes. And Kevin, he shined through the group, and I think he's going to work out terrific with the city of Brooklyn. He's also going to keep his job part-time with the city of Lakewood. And I think there's a benefit to that as well, because we face some of the same issues as a first-ring suburb. So welcome, Kevin. I'd like to thank Maria McGinty and the staff at the Recreation Center. I received this email the other day. I'd like to read it. Thank you again for hosting the St. Ignatius Tournament and accommodating Gonzaga hockey team. Your facility is very well run, spotless, and the boys reported exceptionally clean locker rooms and showers. Aside from the actual ice, the locker rooms and showers are typically the telltale sign of a quality rink. I would encourage St. Ignatius to hold the tournament again and believe that we would likely return as candidates if we were invited. Again, thank you to you and your staff. So thank you to Maria McGinty. I'd also like to thank our building commissioner. I had a resident come up here on Monday. He was having difficulties with his power turned off. Dave Kulsar met him over the weekend to make sure that he went through an inspection and he was able to get the power on over the weekend. So neither of those two are here, but I would like to publicly thank them. I met with the library last week, and you may have noticed they're doing a $500,000 renovation at the Cuyahoga County Brooklyn Library. They will not close their facility at any time during the renovation, which will go until March. They do plan on closing their Parma Heights branch for a time being while they're doing the renovations, but Brooklyn will stay open. Some of these things were already discussed. I did start finance director interviews, and I was planning on possibly presenting a candidate for council to interview tonight, but that is not the case. So there will be no executive session tonight. I'd like to speak about the TV. Time Warner Cable and WOW have been very slow at doing this process. So I would actually request that residents, if this is your provider, contact them. Because, there's no payment to them for this service, so, they're not in a big hurry to do it. So if you want this, please make phone calls to your provider and encourage them. This is a service that you really want and it's important to you. Chief Zemek produces annual report, the first chief to get something done, so I just want to get a few highlights. In 2015, the fire department responded to 719 fire alarms, 1,837 EMS calls for a total of 2,556 requests. This is a 9% increase from 2014. There was $373,000 in EMS billings received, and the chief secured $139,000 in grant money for 2015. That's outstanding. And in 2015, there was a total fire loss of $2,526,000. The majority of that loss was due to the stadium towards the end of the year. So thank you, Chief, for producing that report, which will go out to council this week. There was a comment about the CIC committee and me requesting Andy Selhertz on the committee. That is true. I think this is one of those committees that it helps to have someone who can hit the ground running. And I think that the last two appointments, Deb Tomesco and John Watine, were appointed by the committee without posting. This would be the same case. This is no different than anything else. So I kind of felt like this was a political power struggle. But I'm willing to go through the whole process and go through the appointments. So if you're interested, please look at the city website. And then I'd just like to make a comment. Since I've been the council president for the last 2 years, I know there's some division here, obviously. If you can't pick a council president, there's a division to begin with. So I think it might be a little bit unfair to say that Mr. Van Kirk is purposely doing this because you're starting off with a division. I think there's a big problem to begin with council, and I hope for the sake of the city, I hope for the sake of the residents, we can find some middle ground with all the council people. I don't know if we can do some kind of dispute resolution, something to work on this, but like Debbie said, we're here to serve you, and if we can't get along up here, what are we going to accomplish? So I truly hope that council can sit down and work something out with each other to move forward. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. There are no director's reports this evening, I do not believe, unless I missed one. No? Okay. All right, we will now move on with legislation. The first up is a liquor permit, a stock transfer for Corvy's, and the chief has no objection to this, correct?
objection.
All right, so I need a,
The transfer within the family.
okay. So I need a position of no objection.
Move for a position of no objection.
Second.
For a position of no objection, Kathy Pucci,
Yes.
Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Abstain.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomesco.
Yes.
Okay, next up, we have a letter from the mayor regarding an appointment to the rec board. I'll read the letter. Dear members of council, I am requesting council confirmation on the appointment of Ms. Rebecca Bindis to the City of Brooklyn's Recreation Board. Ms. Bindis will fill the term of Michelle Rivera, who was appointed to the Civil Service Commission. Her term will expire on December 31st, 2017. Ms. Bindis has been a lifelong resident and currently works as a preschool teacher at Hayes Elementary in Lakewood. She is also the junior varsity girls basketball coach for North Railton High School, and in the fall will be beginning her third year as the assistant coach for the Brooklyn girls varsity soccer team. Ms. Bindis has volunteered and performed for events as a high school student and has worked at both the Recreation Center and Senior Center in various capacities. She looks forward to bringing a fresh new perspective to the Recreation Board based on her experiences in the community. Thank you. Sincerely, Catherine Gallagher, Mayor.
Move to confirm.
Second.
To confirm the appointment, Kathy Pucci,
Excuse me. Yes.
Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
Yes.
Debbie Tomesco.
Yes.
Next is the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Andy Selhertz to the Economic Development Commission. I'll read the letter. Dear members of council, I am requesting city council confirmation on the appointment of Mr. Andy Selhertz to the City of Brooklyn Economic Development Committee. Mr. Selhertz will replace former committee member Ms. Deb Tomesco, who was appointed to fill the vacant city council seat. Mr. Selhertz is a former city council member and has been and currently is active in the community, school, and city government. I am confident that Mr. Selhertz will be a great addition to this committee. Thank you sincerely, Catherine Gallagher, Mayor.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
Okay. And just let me assure everybody, this is not political at all. I'm just a little confused because unless something changed that I'm not remembering or, I'm not remembering correctly, I think the appointment is a member of the business community. And it actually it doesn't say resident. It actually doesn't have to even be a resident. So I'm just a little confused by this. It's a citizen from the business community And I know that this came up several years ago, and it was clarified by our previous law director that that person didn't even have to be a resident. In fact, we've had a non-resident who was a member of the business community who served in that capacity. So I don't know if we want to check into this further or to go see what our current language is, or unless someone has something to add to this. Has anyone looked at the criteria recently, or
I don't know the legal ramifications.
have you looked at it, Katie, or?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deb.
No, go ahead. And then
So-
I'll make my comment. Go ahead.
So Deb was the member of the business community.
Yes.
Okay. I can look at this.
Okay.
I wish you would probably brought it to my attention prior to the meeting, because this has been out for a week now, so.
Yes.
I got this on Friday, so,
Okay.
yeah, and I was busy
Still-
today at work.
Do we want to hold?
I do want to make a comment,
Sure.
if I may. I just want to say that I was the person on the CIC and the Economic Development Committee. They were both, I was appointed to them over a period of time. They weren't both at the same time. And again, it's not personal at all that we're asking for it to go out to the city of Brooklyn to look for additional candidates. There's 10,000 people in the city of Brooklyn, and I just would like to see other people potentially have the opportunity. And then I wanted to comment in defense of myself, receiving those appointments. When I worked for the economic development organization that I worked for, I ran the portion of the in addition to running the manufacturing portion, I ran the portion of the organization that did all of the work with the city of Cleveland. So the CDC for Cleveland, the CIRI for Cleveland. So I had experience in working in that, basically what our Brooklyn CIC does. So it wasn't something that, that I just had good experience. I actually had that particular experience going down to city council meetings at the city of Cleveland, and then also working with the various council people for the city of Cleveland. And then in terms of my appointment to the Economic Development Committee, number one, I have an extensive business background. I do currently have my own business. And also I had worked again in economic development. I knew Fran Migliorino, who was our former economic development director, because I worked with her when she was with the governor's office in Columbus, and I was doing, again, economic development for manufacturing companies at the nonprofit that I worked for. So I had direct, extensive experience in economic development that directly related. So when Fran discovered that I was here in Brooklyn, she was like, oh my God, would you like to come on the committee? So just in defense of myself being on those two committees, it wasn't personal at all. I had the qualifications, and I had the background, and I had the experience to serve on those two committees. And I think all I'm suggesting for this appointment is let's see if there's somebody out there that has similar extensive background in the business community and potentially in economic development to fill these positions.
Deb, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Deb, I by no means was trying to cast judgment on your abilities whatsoever. If that came across like that, I apologize. My point was, it's a double standard. That's what my point was. It has nothing to do with the fact that it was you or John, at all.
I'm sorry,
It was a double standard that we didn't go out for those two positions.
Oh, I see.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
I just think maybe we should take a step back and maybe have the law director look at what the language is. And again, I want to make sure that I'm remembering correctly and that something hasn't changed. But, my recollection is it's a citizen from the business community. So I don't think it hurts to have the law director check into it and let us know.
Whatever.
Right, then we will hold off on the appointment until the next meeting. Okay, we will move on now with legislation. And the first thing is up ordinance is 2015-72, which is currently held in abeyance, and I'll make a motion to take it out of abeyance here in a moment, but that's authorizing the purchase of one 2017 Freightliner M2 Minimax one-arm garbage truck for the use by the Service Department from Cleveland Freightliner Incorporated for a total of $210,103 through the State of Ohio government pricing. And I make a motion that we remove that from abeyance.
Second,
To remove from being held in abeyance, Kathy Pucci,
yes.
Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
No.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve.
Are you requesting by emergency because of the time frame, Mr. Verba?
That would help, yes.
It's already been through the 3 readings.
If we pass by emergency, it'll take us.
So we want to adopt it under an emergency measure?
Yes.
Okay.
That way we can get going on it.
Okay.
as far as the way-
Can I just ask, just so the residents are aware, if, for Mr. Verba, just to briefly tell the 2 main reasons why we're doing this for the backup and the acres and everything?
The way we pick up in the acres right now is we send 2 trucks through with tippers on the back with 3 guys on each truck. So 6 men are tied up on Mondays to do the acres and also near the Westbrooks. And then also on Thursdays, they do Manoa and they do the butt ends off of Outlook. I'm sorry. So basically what we're trying to do is purchase a smaller 1-armed truck that we'll be able to take through the acres. It's a 14 cubic yard truck rather than our 33 that we have now. It'll be able to fit through the acres. Right now, our 1-armed truck will not fit through the acres, make the turns, and also because of the height of the truck, it'll hit the wires. So what we're going to do is we want to purchase this 1-arm Mini Max for that purpose, and then also it will serve as a backup whenever one of our trucks goes down. We do not have a backup, so then we have to send out the tipper trucks with 3 men on the back again. So this will also serve as a backup if one of the other trucks goes down.
Thank you.
Maybe recognized.
Yes.
For those of you that were not at the budget meeting, we had a lengthy discussion about this. This is a huge purchase, $210,000. A few years ago, when we started the 1-armed process, this was the decision to move forward with this more efficient measure. So every time one of the trucks is down, the 1-armed, we go from having 2 guys on a truck to automatically 6 guys when we go to the tippers. So it's a very inefficient use of the manpower. More importantly, for me, it's if you've invested in a program, you have to continue to invest in it. I think you have 2 choices for trash pickup. We could decide to privatize the trash pickup, and you've kind of seen how this works in other cities. You get a decent contract rate for the first 3 years. You start to eliminate all the capital that you have on the trucks, and you eliminate the manpower. It is a substantial savings. But then when you go out for the next 3 year for the contracts, they tend to increase, and then you tend to see the garbage fees go up, and some of it's out of our control. I think that here in the city, we're so proud to offer these services here. We should invest in this program and try to maintain the services as long as we can. I think residents really, truly appreciate this. So this is my big push, saying this is a program that council started way before I started, and I think we should continue it by investing in it to making sure it's a successful program. And that successful program means we need at least 3 trucks in the fleet for these.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
So my position on this, and it has been for some time, is since we instituted the 1-arm garbage trucks to make our pickup more efficient, we've invested a heck of a lot of money in this particular service for the residents, and I supported it back when we did it. The issue I have is that all these dollars that we've invested, in my opinion, and I have not seen them realized from a financial standpoint, we have not realized significant efficiencies to really justify the expenditure that we've made so far. So now we're going to make another expenditure, and maybe we'll achieve some efficiencies at some point in time. I don't know, but I don't think this is the best use of our tax dollars with some of the other issues that are facing our city this year and the years to come. Thank you.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second,
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci,
yes.
Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Barb Politzky,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Tony DeMarco,
No.
Debbie Tomusko,
Yes.
To adopt by emergency, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
No.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-77 will remain in abeyance until after our next budget meeting, and it's to establish the full-time position of Economic Development Director with the City of Brooklyn. Ordinance 2016-5 is just on first reading, and that is our annual appropriations ordinance. I went over the highlights of that at the beginning of the meeting. Ordinance 2016-6 is also on first reading tonight, and Mrs. Pucci explained that in her report for finance. This is amending Section 1 of Ordinance 2009-66, establishing fees for the sports sponsorship program at the John M. Coyne Recreation Center. Ordinance 2016-7 is authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Architectural Vision Group, Ltd., to provide architectural engineering services related to the development of an assessment on municipal buildings in the amount of $34,450.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
So this particular ordinance is something that I've been a proponent on for some time now, so I'm glad we're at the point of actually having something that we can vote on. And although, 3 or 4 months to get this done is a little long for me, and I do think the scope is a little bit outside of what my original intentions were, I hope that the rest of the council members support this particular ordinance. Thank you.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
Last up is ordinance 2016-8, authorizing the mayor to expand an agreement with Calfee, Halter, and Griswold LLP to provide legal services necessary and related to the operation of the city landfill on behalf of the city of Brooklyn in the amount not to exceed $10,000 as previously expanded by ordinances 2012-73 and 2014-39. And we are looking to pass this by emergency tonight, as well as was explained by Kathy Pucci in the finance report.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules?
Second.
To suspend the rules, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
To adopt, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
All right, that's all we have for this evening. Is anyone else on council have anything? Or
Yeah, Ron, I got one.
Go ahead, Kathy.
I just wanted to welcome Kevin Butler. I missed you over there, and I should know because we finally have somebody in the law department with a labor background, which is going to help, hopefully, in our union contracts. So again, welcome. Thanks.
Sure.
May I be recognized?
Yes, Mrs. Pucci.
The mayor mentioned encouraging residents to contact their cable providers if you are a customer of WOW or Time Warner. Could we get that information up on the website for residents, like who they should call? Because I suspect that just calling the normal 1-800 customer service line is not going to be that effective. Thank you. And I would encourage everyone on council to make contact as well. Thank
Anyone
you.
else?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
To adjourn, Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Mary Belbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Barb Politzky.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Tony DeMarco.
Yes.
Debbie Tomusko.
Yes.
All right, council, we're going
Council,
to,
hold on.